Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Justin Gregory. This is
And I'm Dr. James Hussey.
We're two of the three chiropractic physicians here at Healing Arts Center. Is anybody here that's never been to this clinic before? Okay, so we have a couple of them. Awesome. So the best way that I like to describe what Healing Arts Center is we take the best of Eastern and Western medicine. We bring it under one roof. Great multidisciplinary clinic. Tonight we're going to be talking about neuropathy, going over what it is, how it can be treated, and answer any questions that you guys might have tonight. Okay?
And we're going to flip-flop back and forth.
Yeah.
So we're all going to add some input.
Yeah. So why this seminar matters is more times than not, whenever we come in to a seminar like this, we come in with preconceived notions. Before the seminar, you might think that this is all in your head, peripheral neuropathy. It might be hard to explain to either your provider or to other people exactly what you're going through. You might even have heard or think that nothing can be done for peripheral neuropathy. You might think that you just have to live with it if you think that there's nothing that can be done for it. And then lastly, that it's only going to get worse. After this seminar, we want you to know that you are not making it up. You're not alone. You have options. You have people here that can help you. We have treatment options to help alleviate these symptoms. And you can take action to reverse the progression of this disease. I'm sure plenty of you have heard that once you have neuropathy, there's nothing that you can do for it. And the only treatment that they provide is, unfortunately, pain medications and different types of different therapies that way. We're here to tell you that that is not the case. So let's talk about some of the truths. While they say that neuropathy maybe is not treatable, it is, and it is a true disease. According to the National Institute of Health, up to 1 out of 3 adults above the age of 65 have some type of symptomology of peripheral neuropathy. So it is a very, very common condition in the population of 65 and older. So here tonight, we're here to give you hope and let you know that there is something that can be done. That's one of our mottos here at Healing Arts Centers. Not only are we here to help you heal, but we're here to give you hope, because more times than not, I don't know about yourself, but I've had plenty of patients, whether with neuropathy or other conditions, and sometimes we're their last resort. And I actually love that, because we can restore that life and help people live life to the fullest. And I know you can say the same. So we'll go over what exactly is peripheral neuropathy. So throughout your entire body, you have peripheral nerves that come out of your spinal cord. These act as almost little wires. If you can imagine the electrical wire that goes from a light switch to a light bulb, whenever you turn on that light switch, a signal is sent to the light bulb and then produces light. Around that electrical wire, there's usually some type of conductor or something to protect the wire. And your body also has a protective conductor. It's called a myelin sheath. And whenever that deteriorates, that's whenever the signals going to your brain go haywire. And then obviously, whenever those nerves get damaged, that can give you a plethora of different symptoms like tingling, numbness, electric shocks, burning, freezing. Even if nothing looks wrong on your feet, more times than not, I have patients come in and they think that their feet are supposed to be discolored with neuropathy, and that's not the case. You can have neuropathy without any type of ulcers, cracked skin, or discoloration as well. Okay. So this forces us to ask an important question. What causes the nerve pain? So the way that those nerves are able to function properly is through blood supply. That's how your body is able to feed itself with proper nutrients, is through the vascular system. So whenever the blood supply is compromised, that myelin sheath, or that protective coating around the nerve, starts to deteriorate, and that is whenever you get the wonky signals sent to your brain. like in the previous slide with the tingling, electric shocks, burning, different symptoms like that. More times than not, hands and feet are always the first indicators of neuropathy because those are the farthest away from your heart. And that's also where your arteries are the smallest. So if there are going to be any type of injuries to the vascular system, you're going to feel it in your hands or feet. Okay. So what happens next and how can this affect you? And I'll let Dr. Hussey go over these next couple slides.
You just leave that there.
Okay.
How you folks doing?
Yeah.
So one of the analogies I also like to give about peripheral neuropathy, if you've ever been to the ocean and the sand and you're just pulling your fingers across the sand, I like to look at it as kind of like a bad movie clip out of The Wizard of Oz. When those peripheral nerves, the furthest point away from the body, are damaged, they shrink up like the Wicked Witch, and their toes just kind of reel back into. The toes create balance issues, heel to toe movement, and the reality is, as Dr. Craig said, your hands, your fingers, and your feet and toes are also involved. So what happens with the human body in response to personal connections, did you already switch that over?
There we go.
Okay, everybody's a little bit different. It doesn't matter how old you are. Peripheral neuropathy can affect everybody. Conditions like diabetes, those are usually pretty common. I'm a type 2 diabetic myself, but I don't have peripheral neuropathy. Why is that? Why is it some folks in the room have it and I don't? I don't know. That's what we're here to figure out. When you have drastic blood swings, where some days you're up, some days you're down, you're fatigued, you're just wrung out. It affects the cognitive, but more the peripheral neuropathy is in play, and the discoloration of your toes and your skin, the ulceration, varicose veins, that could all be caused from peripheral neuropathy.
And there's so many different symptoms or diseases that can contribute to the neuropathy,
Yeah.
other than just the diabetes too.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Cancer, chemo treatments,
Yeah.
radiation, long COVID. We all know about long COVID these days. Everything's affecting our body from what happened 5 years ago. And the body's alcoholism, stress, and more. The way the body is responding to it responds in turn. So if you abuse your body over the years, you're going to pay for it. Not so much at our age. Some are paying for it in a younger age. And I see a lot of people looking at each other. Major fears, lifestyle changes, increasing pain and numbness can occur. You're going to have a worsening of balance. Now, around here, they call me the shoe Nazi. Not a very pleasant phrase, but the feet and the action of heel to toe, your point of reference on the foot should be outside of the heel to the first or second toe, should be the secondary impact. If you can't feel your feet, you're a trip hazard. A lot of the clients that I will see for the scanning, I'll literally put down a pencil or a pen on the floor and ask them with their bare feet, step on it. And I literally will ask them, can you feel it? More often than not, they can't feel their feet. They can't feel it. Pain is only one of the symptoms that affects us. Increased falls. Well, if you can't walk properly, your joints are seized up, the skin, the muscles, the tendons, they're all seized up. You're a trip hazard. I usually have this conversation with a lot of my folks. If I've got the gentleman on the table and the wife happens to be at the exam, I look at her and I said, if he falls, aside from calling 911, can you get him up? More often than not, they can't get him off the floor. How long is he going to sit there before the ambulance gets there? Which is a scary thought in its own right. Surgeries, amputations, those are usually what is happening in most disease entities. Phantom pain we have when there's an amputation. But the body has a reality that says we can correct and manage the peripheral neuropathy basically with our team. Increase, loss of independence and isolation and depression. That speaks for itself. If you can't really get up and walk across the room, you lose time with your grandchildren, you lose time with your spouse, you lose time with your friends, your church friends, your small groups. All of them are being affected because you just flat out can't get out because you can't feel your feet or you can't feel your hands or you're a fall slip hazard. Going out on a beautiful sunny afternoon for a walk is almost a no-brainer. Financial impacts, they pretty much speak for themselves. The cost is insane. In fact, when we were prepping for this earlier, time spent in a nursing home was shocking to me. In this area, somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 to $1,200. That's insane. 1,000. My mistake.
Yeah.
My
There we go.
8,000 to 12,000. Sorry.
Yeah.
I misread that. That's even
Off
more
by
frightening. More frightening in every aspect of it. Loss of mobility and independence we talked about, making it hard to work, drive, or take care of one's needs without help. Home health assistance, the Southwest Missouri can cost thousands. That's scary. So think about for yourself, no matter how old you are. And I had a dialogue with one visitor that, they're on the younger side. Some of us are on the older side. And will we put the burden on our children or our spouse to take care of us? That's reality. We want to be able to help and give some hope.
So we'll go over some of the myths with neuropathy because there are quite a few. I'll let you go over the first two if you
Okay.
want to know.
Oh, the ever-loving gabapentin.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly can tell you, I have yet to meet one person that says gabapentin works.
I'm on it.
Does it work?
No,
No. Does it give any benefit at all?
I had to have back surgery, and they said that the reason I got neuropathy was because I waited too long.
And what does your doctor say when the one dose doesn't work?
Huh?
Take more. What does your doctor say? If the dose that they prescribed is not working, what do?
They put me
They
on
prescribe more.
gabapentin.
Gabapentin, yeah.
And when I went over there last year to see him, he said, well, you can take 8 of those things a day. I said, I'm not going to take the 8 a day. I said, they're hard on your mind.
That's scary.
I ain't going back.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were just talking about the higher
the higher
dosage.
dose, yes.
Yep.
Trying the same thing and then increasing the dose, that doesn't make any sense to me. We're in the business of hope. Health opportunity for everybody. We want to give that to you. We have a solid team that is built on this journey.
And you might hear that you just have to live with it. And that is not the case. That's the last thing that we want you guys to take away. We'll go over some of the testimonials in a little bit to help give you that hope that there is more to do than just taking an endless script of prescriptions. So while neuropathy is progressive, it is not untreatable. With the right care, nerve function can improve. More times than not, what we're trying to do is to increase the blood supply to those peripheral nerves, and that helps to rebuild that myelin and to help reverse the peripheral neuropathy. Yes, so with that, you're also reducing inflammation and just helping the nerve signal in general so that You know, with the example, whenever you turn on the light switch, the light turns on immediately and there's not a delay. So, how are we different? I think you have that part. No cookie cutter approach. You want to talk to them about that?
So each patient is their own individual self, okay? We don't cookie cut every patient, put you on a conveyor belt and just do the same thing. A lot of practitioners in the area that patients are dismayed on how they are treated from a chiropractic standpoint. So they come to us. Why? Because we do things different. Our front office staff gets on me all the time because we don't know what to tell people that you do. Because every time we figure it out, then you change it up again. Well, peripheral neuropathy, we do the same thing. We do the different things and we do what works. Because we've had success with it. Why would we change it? And if it stops and it starts failing, we'll change it again.
Yeah.
Because you, the individual, deserve that.
Yeah, there's a whole host of different modalities and treatments that we do here. And we'll go over a couple of those if you want to go over chiropractic and acupuncture, and then I'll go over the home therapies.
So chiropractic care is a spinal alignment. And incidentally, Dr. Gregory and I are from the same school. Dr. Sams is a Palmer grad, we're Logan grads out of St. Louis. So it's a proper alignment to ensure no nerve blood supply is kind of left out. We don't want pressure or a pinched nerve to affect soft tissue blood supply that's supposed to be designed to nourish the tissue.
And then for acupuncture, whether, I know there's battlefield acupuncture as well as SAAT. There's a bunch of different types of acupuncture, and based on your particular need is how our acupuncturist, Miss Minger Ping, would be treating you with acupuncture. Also physical therapy. If I have a patient come in and this is bad enough to where it's affecting their balance, without a shadow of a doubt, no brainer, I'm writing a script for physical therapy as well. Because as we are getting the blood supply and building those nerves, we need to retrain those intrinsic foot muscles because you haven't been using them correctly. And some people have had neuropathy for years. So if you can imagine you're not using a muscle properly, and then you finally are able to use it, and you're going to go back and start walking, hiking, being active again, that could be a recipe for disaster. So that's where PT comes in handy. And then obviously our at-home equipment. All the therapies that we do here are amazing at getting you to the finish line and getting you the progress. The bread and butter of where you're going to get most of the progress is our at-home therapies, and that's with the Nerve Reviver. That's going to include red light therapy, whether it's for your hands or your feet. We have wraps for that. We have books also that we'll be handing out, and that goes over particular, if you're have an engineering background and you want to know exactly the wavelength of the light. I don't know that off the top of my head, but if you're interested in that, we have that information for you. We also have what's called a nerve bath. So you'll put your feet into a tub of water, and then you use a TENS unit, and that helps to retrain and to wake up those nerves so that they're functioning properly as you're opening up the vasculature and nourishing those nerves. There's also a seated vibration plate. So you guys have probably seen or heard of like a Jiggling George. I know it's popular down here. Well, we have a seated vibration plate. So while you're seated, you put your feet on a device and it helps to vibrate your feet. This helps with opening up your blood vessels, helps with draining any lymph. More times than not, when we're talking about peripheral neuropathy, we have a lot of edema or swelling of the lower extremities in your hands as well. So that seated vibration plate plays a crucial role in that as well. And then we also have a cold laser unit that you can use, and that also helps to open up the vasculature, blood vessels, and help heal those nerves. So we're going to go over the patient testimonials. We have Mrs. Cross with us today. If you want to come on up, everybody give her a round of applause.
my husband doesn't do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
So,
tag, I'm it.
so go ahead and tell us what type of problem was your husband having before he started treatment for the neuropathy? How it affected his life and work and family?
Well, at the time when he was tripping and falling and stuff, we didn't realize that that was part of the neuropathy. So he had been to 3 different doctors. So he would go to one for a while and they just increased. He was on maximum dosage of gabapentin that there is. Everybody knows, I guess, here what gabapentin is. And the best case scenario that 3 different doctors gave him was that one leg be amputated at the knee at a time and not have to amputate both of them. And that way he could learn his balance. That was the best case results that they could give him. So I found out, because we both, me and my daughter come here for chiropractic care. And then I found out that they had the neuropathy program. So we checked into it and we come in and we sit down and talked about it. And my husband is very stubborn. He's, at the time he was 63 years old. He doesn't take well to much anything with change. And first thing they're going to tell me they want me to do is to quit smoking. And they did. And he probably would have had even better results had he have quit. But, he that is not what he wanted to do. He wanted to maintain his lifestyle and to keep on doing the things that he wanted to do. We live on a farm, so there's a lot of walking, fence lines, animals. I mean, there's a lot of walking, and he just couldn't do it. He did not go to Walmart. He would sit in the car if we did. Any place we went, I pulled up, he got out, made it just inside while I went and parked, and then I come back in. And then he usually held on to my arm because he was not steady and he didn't want to embarrass himself and fall in front of people. So they got him on this ball in here, like a half ball, and they had to hold on to him for several visits for him to get back because he couldn't feel. He couldn't feel in his feet when he was going forward and when he was coming back. When they would do some little stick tests on his feet, from his toes, it would be halfway down his feet before he thought he might feel something, and even farther than that, closer to the heel before he felt anything at all. He finally decided to do an open mind and do it. And so
what is it like now since he's followed through with the treatment?
So like just about 2 weeks ago, I was trying to find him in Walmart. I'm like going everywhere because we needed to get home. I had to work the next day and I could not find him. And usually it's the fishing aisle, where I find him. So I forgot what aisle I actually found him in. It's trying to keep up with him. Is that the other day he fell, he didn't fall all the way, but he tripped and he turned around and he started laughing. And he said, that was just me being a klutz. And I was like, and it was because he just tripped over his own 2 feet. But,
and when did he finish the program?
He finished it. We had some bad weather, so he didn't get to finish the 28th of December. He finished January 2nd.
Okay.
So because of the bad weather, ice and snow that we had at the end of December that year, but he has absolutely done amazing. And I'm doing it from my point of view. The person that lays next to him while he's even in his sleep, he sleeps right through it while his feet jerk. And stuff. We don't have that anymore. So I've gotten to, it is. He would moan, like be sitting there watching TV with his feet up. And, he would just make little groaning sounds because of the sharp pains in his feet. And so, he wouldn't mean to do that, but people would, like if you're out eating or something, people turn and look at you and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would embarrass him. So he didn't want to go out to eat and stuff like that. Now the man, I can't keep him at home. He's out doing something all the time. So,
I know
it's
personally
amazing.
too, when we were, so like I said, I'm one of the chiropractors. So during the treatment, I would be adjusting his feet as well. And at first he wouldn't react to whenever I was adjusting his feet. And then about halfway through the treatment protocol, he would start kind of kicking his feet, laughing, giggling, because he could actually feel me working on his feet. So that was a challenge in and of itself, trying to work on his feet without making him kick me in the face. But it was a good problem to have because he could actually feel what I was doing to his feet. But yeah, like I said, he made great results and he's maintaining them. That is even more, if not just as important as getting better, it's staying better. Because you don't want a temporary.
Question real quick, not to interrupt. Is he still using the machinery?
Actually, no.
He's not.
He has not in. See, it's probably been close to a year.
Okay.
Probably before Memorial Day last year.
Okay.
And he's maintained the results.
Yeah, he has maintained the results. Yes. He has not used any of the equipment, and you guys probably don't want to hear this, but he hasn't been taking the supplements either. So, yeah, sorry about that. So
I'll have a talk with him next time.
So yeah, so
That is not a threat, by the way. We're just gonna.
The
line him out for me, okay?
Could it come back? Maybe. We don't know. This is a huge success story.
Yeah.
But we're in the
for us.
business of maintaining. We have attention to, well, what if it comes back? Well, he's got the machinery. It doesn't have to be returned to us. Dr. Gregory is working with him. We'll have that conversation with him again and make light of it like we just did. But the reality is that we're here to help.
Yeah.
A lot of my clients that come to me, when we get them to the second phase of testing, they get really mad at me. And I sit there with a big old grin on my face. Why? Because I remind them, before you couldn't feel your feet. Now you can feel your feet or your legs or your shin. The varicose veins are gone. The reddening, discoloration is gone. And they sit back and they're shocked. Oh, I forgot that. Because 12 weeks is a long time.
It is.
We lose sight of what happened week 1, and now we're into week 12.
Yeah.
Something to consider.
So how many years did you spend?
Well, I'm second marriage, so me and my husband's only been together since 2007. So, but he got his pacemaker defibrillator in 2003. In 2002, he was diagnosed as a diabetic, and he was on insulin shots. He did work and get off of the insulin shots. In 2003, he got a pacemaker defibrillator. So everything that's something that's people. I was talking to a lady the other day that is thinking about this for her mom. Is ionic bath, the foot bath.
Yes.
Because it is you.
It has an electrical current,
Yes.
which we always get clearance from people's cardiologists as well.
So y'all called or checked into stuff and
Yep.
everything like that. But me and my husband, I don't need his pacemaker going off. I want to keep this one. So I decided. So I called Dr. Wong in Little Rock. We go down once a year to the Arkansas Heart Hospital. That's the man who saved his life back then, and that's just the only heart doctor that we see. So I called down there, and it probably took 2 or 3 days to get an answer back from Dr. Wong's office, okay, because he wanted to check into and stuff like that. He hadn't been asked. And what he had told me was it was fine for him to put his feet because it was such a long distance from his heart, okay, so, and his pacemaker generator, but not to do any type of sit in a bath. Do not do any. They do have ionized baths that you can sit in for whole body. And so that's what our doctor said. My husband's doctor said, just don't sit into a bath that your body's fully immersed. So can I tell one more thing real
You
quick?
sure can, yes.
So if anybody's considering but they're worried about the pacemaker defibrillator.
Yeah.
So we, like I said, we live on a farm. We cut wood. We cut and split wood, all the time, it seems like. And my husband runs a chainsaw. So every year when we go back in April or May to the heart doctor, he's looking over one whole year, 52 weeks of stuff. And he's asking us, what'd you do September 3rd? We don't have a clue. So then he's like, well, you're doing this every Saturday. And he had asked this a couple of years before that. He said, you're doing this every Saturday. And your husband has a rhythm mix up. And so we got to looking, I'm looking at a calendar and everything. I was like, the only thing we do during that time on Saturdays is cut wood. And I was like, would a chainsaw do that? And he was like, yeah, the vibration of it. And I was like, oh, okay. So we said we wasn't going to say anything about he was doing the treatments. So when we went back, we ended up going April 7th, I think it was, or something like that, the 1st of April last year. And we weren't going to say anything. We talked about it all the way to Little Rock. We're not going to say anything because you had your feet for 3 months. You had your feet in there. We're going to see if it shows up on the deal. So it was just an experiment we was kind of playing around with. And he never asked one thing about it. And so then we was kind of disappointed because he didn't ask anything about it. So we mentioned it to him and he went back and looked and he could not see where there was any type of disruption with the generator or the defibrillator or anything. So it wasn't showing up at all. So
That's great.
chains. That's a lot of that's one of the questions that a lot of people
Yeah.
ask me.
Absolutely, and I know that's one of the questions that Pearl gets asked quite a bit, because if you are having peripheral neuropathy, more times than not, that's a blood circulation issue, and more times than not, those people have heart problems. So you might have a pacemaker as well. So that is a good thing to bring up.
He's got a whole slew of them. Blood pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, like he's got a lot of ailments.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming up here. I appreciate that. If you would give her a round of applause again. So now we turn the tables to you guys for our Q&A. Does anybody have any burning questions that you just have to get out there? We tried to answer or go over most of everything that you might have questions about, but
And if
We're
it's
here.
personal health questions, you can talk with us after.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it in the open forum. Any questions?
For looking at the hands and the fingers, would that affect ability to turn pages?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yep.
Yes.
absolutely.
And it's not just the dropsies, but a lot of people
Yeah.
call it the dropsies.
Yeah.
It's not getting old. It's just, we might have to set you up for.
I just got that late.
So why are the symptoms so stronger at night when you're trying to sleep?
So when we're in a lying down position, like a diabetic will have restless leg, they'll be uncomfortable because the body just reacts that way differently. With diabetics, it's the rise in blood sugar epidemic. The peripheral neuropathy is tied into that, but peripheral neuropathy might have some cause and effect, not speaking as a cardiologist, but because when we're lying down, our blood pressure drops off a little bit, our temperature drops off a little bit. So all of that's tied in to the mechanism of the way the body works. So I think could be a plausible answer.
And I mean, positions while you're sleeping as well. If you're lying flat, if you can imagine if I was laying horizontal, whereas if I was bent a little bit, I would have more slack in my sciatic nerves and all the blood vessels going down there. That's why more times than not with sleeping patterns, we always recommend slipping a pillow underneath the knees. That helps take pressure. More times than not, we're dealing with sciatic patients, but that also helps with taking some pressure off the vascular system too.
And if you're a side sleeper, put a pillow between your knees.
Asking on behalf of my 91-year-old mother, is postherpetic neuralgia a cousin to neuropathy?
I'm trying to recall if I had a case that was similar to that.
Were you able to help them? It's been over a year for her.
She was something similar of a diagnosis, and she did very, very well. I don't recall what her initial results were, but the end result, she was one of those that if she had a cane in hand, I was going to get hit over the head. But she decided, I don't need my cane anymore, so I don't use it. So there's probably a close parallel to that. The reality here, we can test her and find out how much loss there is, recommend accordingly. And as we mentioned earlier, not everybody's the same. Some folks might succeed in one department, physical therapy, maybe chiropractic, maybe acupuncture, maybe all of them. We find what works.
I have plenty of patients where I'll do a test, and PT and acupuncture are going to be more beneficial than what I might be able to provide. So even if you're coming in for us to be tested, we're not going to be recommending unnecessary treatments for you. We're just going to be recommending what is going to get you the quickest results and get you feeling as best as possible.
There was another thought that came to mind when we're dealing with different age groups. We're not all going to be pounding on people's bodies. We use activator technique, which is a slight impulse. We might use a Vetrostim type of device that's a massager that stimulates some of the blood flow in the muscles, relaxing the muscles. We might use just light touch pressure.
Yeah.
Myofascial release is the term that we use in our physical therapy department. We might even encourage massage therapy. We have one gal that does a variation of massage therapy to the lower extremity, below the knee. Everybody loves Rose's technique because it's amazing. They'll come back for
Just to
Rose's
see
technique
Rose.
just to see Rose. Yeah. So not everybody's the same.
Any other questions? Like Dr. Hussey said, if you have questions that are a little bit more personable and you want to wait until you can pull either myself or Dr. Hussey aside, we'll be here until everybody has left. So last call, any questions before? Yes.
I think I heard somebody mention 12 weeks. Is that like a standard length of
That's
time? Or-
usually, yes, is 90 days is our program. So we'll do a sensory exam. We do a bunch of different tests because you have a lot of different types of nerve endings in your feet. So we'll do vibration test, fine touch, cold, heat, because like I said, there's a bunch of different types of nerve endings. And then after those 90 days or 12 weeks, that's whenever we retest and we're able to mark your progress. And based on those numbers, that helps us to determine what your maintenance is going to be with the equipment. Whether you can cut back to, let's say, once a day or only once every couple days. Obviously, sometimes with people that are very, very severe, after the 90 days, let's say they go from a 90% sensory loss to 75. So they made progress, but it's still pretty significant. We're going to recommend that person to continue their home therapies twice a day for probably another month or so, and then we're going to retest again. And that is not an extra charge to the testing. Yep.
While we're doing the testing, we do use different devices. We use this little MediBand. It's this tiny little punky little thing. It doesn't look intimidating, but you feel it.
Well, sometimes you don't feel it at first,
This is true.
but then after the 90 days, you feel it.
But the reality is, we'll use different sensations to get the end result. And we do a scale of 1 to 10. How we do it, if your arm is a 10 out of 10 and we're doing below the knee, we want to see, is this a 10 and is all the way down to the sole of the foot a 10, or if it's closer to a 1. So we're used to those in chiropractic go 0 is good, 10 is bad. But when we go 10 out of 10, that's good. And then we use the lower extremity with our different little toys, we call that.
And then if it's particularly for hands, we would test your cheek in order to get a reading for the hand.
Yep. Good point.
Yeah, thought I'd bring that up.
So what is the 90-day cost for the 90-day program? Upfront cost?
That is determined based on the recommended price. Pearl goes over all of that with you. And that varies based on what therapies you have and what type of insurance you have too.
So
Some people have cash, some people, have Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and that varies, especially for like the physical therapy, chiropractic. Is that accurate, Pearl? It
Yes.
depends. Okay. That I usually don't have that conversation, but I've heard her talk about that enough.
Yeah, we have our hands full dealing with the testing. We hand the patient over with the paperwork to Pearl for a report of findings. She sits down, she goes over everything, and she's very, very thorough.
I've got a question that probably you don't have, but I always have questions that people haven't considered. There's some people that are very high pain tolerant.
Yes.
Do you find that those people may have more of a problem than what? They just work through it. That's just their life.
Because I'm one of those that has a high pain tolerance, but loss of function, loss of range of motion plays into it. When you come in for your first exam, you're going to fill out paperwork. You're going to give us a whole health history. We're going to backtrack into that because some medications will also block pain, or so we hope. Gabapentin does not. But there's topical ointments that might contribute to it as well. But the idea is we look at everything, not just one entity like high pain tolerance, if that makes sense.
And also usually people with higher pain tolerances, when they do come in to see us, they are usually have worse readings because they can work through the pain. And by the time they come in to see us, we're like, how did you even walk in here?
Yeah.
And those I've noticed anecdotally myself, those are the people, where you start out at 90 and then we get to 75. I'm going to have you continue to do, twice a day at home therapies for another month or two. And then let's retest again. Let's see if we can get that 75 down to 50 or even farther down.
We had a patient who had stepped on a nail and was completely unaware of it.
Yeah.
He had a high pain tolerance, but
Because
he
he
had
couldn't feel
very
it, yeah.
severe sensory loss.
Yeah.
Or he was so numb, he didn't
Yeah.
feel a thing.
Yeah.
So,
So that type of person could really be a lot worse than what they
Than
ever
what
think
they,
they are.
yeah.
yes.
And so how does that play out? Usually how bad do they get before?
Usually they get so bad to where they come in because their walking is affected. They're tripping all the time, at least in my own personal experience. And it's not so much the tingling or the burning because they're just made differently where they can just work through the burning and the tingling. But whenever their function is affected is whenever they seek help. And whenever your function is affected, it's usually
So
pretty well
what type of diabetes is the most likely more apt to have neuropathy? Is one bad worse than the other?
Not necessarily. It's treated differently. I treat myself more naturally than with
type one.
type 1s. I'm being a type 2. So there are so many different medications, derivatives from insulin. You can't really pinpoint, okay, what works for one doesn't always work for the other. You could have a whole room full of diabetics. You talk to one, you're going to have an individual diabetic story. Everybody's different. Another thing to your initial question with the high pain tolerance, when you have discoloration of the skin, you have discoloration of the toenail. You could have toenail fungus where the nail falls off. There's rotting of the skin in severity, both in diabetics, which is why we alluded to some of the amputated joints and muscles and extremities. But there's a lot to unpack on it. And the longer the condition is there, it doesn't get better. It gets worse. I had a client in here not too long ago. I was shocked when she shared with me, she's had this peripheral neuropathy for the last 9 months. That was baffling to me. To be in the state that she was in and the loss, I was shocked how much nerve loss she had in just 9 months. The story was yet to be told. Her daughter came in a couple of days later and shared more of her health history. We started putting this all together and started making better sense. That's why we say we don't treat everybody the same. You're an individual. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, you said something about pinched nerves, or you'd have to work on the pinched nerves, you know. I've got that, been told that what's causing my foot pain and
Yeah.
numbness, and it's all because of my pinched nerves.
Yeah.
In my back.
Well, that could, more times than not with, sciatica or pinched nerves, that can also affect your blood supply going down the leg too. And more times than not, that sciatica can be irritated because it's not getting enough blood supply. So adjustments, even acupuncture, like I said earlier, would be very beneficial for that. Our laser would also help to open up that blood supply and take pressure off that nerve as well.
Yes, ma'am, do you have a question?
I'm just getting to know who you are and what you do. Do you have a program specifically for diabetics? Where you
We have a lot that the office offers. Might be best to have that conversation one-on-one, but we have full nutrition. We have the physical therapy, we have medical, nurse practitioner, and a nurse. So we can do blood draws, we can track your A1C. We cannot prescribe medication, but we can do nutritional products. Acupuncture with some of the side effects that diabetics go through. Of course, what we do with chiropractic as well.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of stuff that we can unpack.
And like with diabetic patients, if they're dealing with a lot of pain, I'm going to be also prescribing some acupuncture to help with some of the pain management as well. I think that's what you're asking, is how customized, is there a custom plan just for
Right.
diabetic patients? In a way, yes, but like we said, every patient is so different.
sure.
So more times than not, not one plan is going to look the same. It's just going to vary on what treatment options we think are going to get you feeling better the quickest.
Anybody else?
Okay. Let's go ahead. So as far as the scheduling, I know you're talking about the cost. For tonight, if you go ahead and schedule the exam, Pearl, is that a 90-minute time slot or hour to 90 minutes?
It's usually 60 to 90 minutes.
60 to 90 minutes, okay. So usually $170 value. If you go ahead and sign up for that tonight, we'll waive that cost. It'll be completely free. We just want to really drive the point that waiting is not going to help this. Continuing to just mask the symptoms with medication is not fixing the problem. It might be taking the edge off the pain, but it's not fixing the problem. And you could hear from Alan's case, what were his options? Amputation was best case scenario. And more times than not, if that doesn't work, what do? They keep, unfortunately, going higher and higher. And then you're talking about different types of treatment options that do not end well. So I just want you to know that this is a very serious topic. Me and Dr. Hussey are very passionate about this. We genuinely love our patients. We are here for them. We want to see them get better and live their life to their fullest. So like I said, if you go ahead and schedule that tonight, we'll waive that fee. Miss Jennifer and Pearl will get you on the book so that we can do that sensory exam for you. And like I said, me and Dr. Hussey are going to stick around for a little bit. If you have any more questions, we would love to talk to you. I just want to be respectful of your guys' time. We're getting close to 7 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead, dismiss the group. So if you don't want to stay